This leather bag costs more than most people earn in a month, yet it comes from the same animal raised for food, the same skin most consumers never think about. Every year, millions of hides are discarded, while others are turned into luxury. Between the farm and the factory, a quiet decision is made about waste, value, and responsibility. Leather doesn't begin in a factory. It begins here, on cattle farms. Every year, more than 1.5 billion cattle are processed worldwide for food, and their hides become a byproduct of that system. In the United States alone, around 33 million cattle enter the meat supply annually, and every single hide comes from animals raised for beef or dairy, not for leather itself. However, not all hides are used. Industry data shows that millions are discarded each year, often sent to landfill. Industry data shows that millions are discarded each year, often sent to landfill. As a result, the quality of leather is shaped long before tanning begins by how animals are raised, handled, and valued on the farm. Every year, the global food system creates around 1.5 billion cattle hides. In fact, most leather in the world comes from cattle, not from exotic animals. In the United States alone, tens of millions of hides are produced each year. But here's the part most people don't realize. Not all of them are used. A large number never become leather products at all, often because of quality issues or low demand. So it raises a simple question: when these hides already exist, is it better to use them or let them go to waste? Long before tanning starts, that decision is already being made. Raw hides are mostly water and natural fibers, which makes them extremely sensitive to heat and bacteria. Industry studies show that within just a few hours, quality can drop if temperature and handling are not controlled. Even small delays can lead to stains, odors, or uneven texture. That's why a significant share of hides lose value before they ever reach a tannery. So the real question isn't only how leather is made later, it's how much value is already lost on the very first day. So what if the leather isn't tanned? Without tanning, untreated hides can break down in days. Through tanning, the collagen structure is stabilized, allowing leather to last decades, sometimes generations. Today, around 80 to 85% of the world's leather is chrome tanned because it is fast, consistent, and scalable. The remaining share is vegetable tanned, a slower process valued for durability and aging. More importantly, tanning multiplies value. Industry estimates show that tanning alone can increase the economic value of a hide by 3 to 5 times. So the real question is not how tanning works, but why some hides are considered worth saving while others are not. After tanning, leather is still far from usable. At this stage, the main question is not how it's dried or softened, but why this step matters so much. Industry data shows that improperly dried leather can lose up to 30% of its usable surface area due to stiffness, shrinkage, or cracking. Drying controls moisture, but softening controls value. Leather that feels too stiff is downgraded immediately, regardless of how well it was tanned. That's why tanneries invest heavily here, because softness, flexibility, and consistency are what separate leather meant for everyday products from leather chosen for premium use. The final stage is not about making leather look better, it's about deciding what it is allowed to become. Quality control exists because leather is never uniform. Industry estimates show that only 10 to 20% of finished hides meet the standards required for high-end products. Small marks, uneven color, or inconsistent texture can lower value instantly. This is why inspection is strict and often manual. At this point, leather is no longer judged as material, but as potential. The question is no longer how it was made, but whether it is good enough to represent something called luxury. By the time leather becomes a finished product, most of the decisions are already behind it. What remains is not just material, but the result of choices on farms, in facilities, and in factories. Leather is not rare because cattle are rare. It is rare because quality, care, and time are. So the question is simple. When you see a leather product, do you see only the surface or the entire journey behind it? And if these hides already exist, what responsibility comes with using them or choosing not to? That answer belongs to the person carrying it.
Step onto Jack O'Brien's 10,000-hectare station outside Longreach, Queensland, where the red dust rises under a wide sky and 5,000 head of cattle move in steady rhythm. Jack rotates them across 20 paddocks every 3 days, a practice that quietly rebuilds soil carbon at 1.2 tons per hectare each year, according to CSIRO measurements. GPS ear tags track every animal's daily gain, 2.4 pounds on average, while routine BVD vaccines and mineral-rich sorghum silage keep the herd in peak condition. This is where the journey begins, long before any hide reaches a factory floor. From the paddock, refrigerated trucks carry the cattle to JBS Dienmore, arriving at a rate of 300 head per hour. Each animal enters a CO2 chamber and collapses within seconds. Dr. Sarah Clark, the RSPCA auditor on site, confirms that 99.7% are unconscious before processing begins, with checks performed every shift to maintain that standard. Once inside the plant, a 3-layer AI system takes command. Hyperspectral cameras scan marbling in 0.3 seconds with 98.7% accuracy. Scott Technology predicts tenderness to within 0.4 points on the Meat Standards Australia scale, and Morel robots follow a precise 3D map of every carcass. The result is waste trim to 20% below Brazil's 28% average, with one robot replacing 12 workers and delivering 99.9% cut precision. Tom Maguire, the plant engineer, pauses beside a moving hide and points to a hairline floor. AI detects 95% of such defects before the hide leaves the floor, yet the remaining 5% still cost the operation $3 million annually in downgrades. Across the country, Australia processed 2.5 million head in the 2024-25 fiscal year, yielding 2.75 million tons of beef and the full 240,000 tons of hide. Beef output alone reached a record 660,000 tons carcass weight equivalent in 2025, a 14% rise from 2023. The hides travel south to Collings Leather in Melbourne, where they enter enzyme vats instead of chromium salts. Water consumption has fallen 40% since the switch in 2023. Michael Collings walks the floor and explains that effluent now contains zero chrome, a standard that earns 90% of Australian plants Leather Working Group Gold certification. Brazil, by contrast, averages 3.5 milligrams per litre. Bustler cameras paired with deep learning inspect 1,200 square feet per minute, flagging defects as small as 0.1 millimeter with 97% accuracy. Return rates to European buyers sit at 3%, while Brazil's reach 12%. Anna Tran, supply chain manager at Tesla's Melbourne facility, runs an abrasion test on a seat panel. Australian leather withstands 100,000 cycles, double the Brazilian specification, yet synthetic alternatives cost 30% less.
The surplus moves to rendering plants, where crushers reduce 48,000 tons, 1/5 of total output, to gelatin for pet food.
Meanwhile, the global leather market is projected to reach $448.2 billion in 2025 and climb to $608.9 billion by 2030 at a 6.32% compound annual growth rate. Thickness averages 0.9 millimeters in Australia versus 1.2 millimeters in Brazil. Tensile strength registers 22 newtons per square millimeter against 18. Australia ships 240,000 tons of raw hide. Brazil manages roughly 30,000 tons, valued at $1.26 billion after a 12.5% increase in 2024. Factories can install hyperspectral AI at the kill floor to cut hide damage by 5% and save $2 million yearly, provided they never skip operator training and keep raw hide moisture below 15% during transport. Fashion brands should require LWG Gold certification to guarantee chrome-free, traceable supply, avoid wet blue to sidestep EU penalties starting in 2030, and specify leather no thicker than 0.9 millimeters for handbags. Consumers can scan QR codes on certified products and follow the hide from Jack's paddock to the final stitch. Back on the station at dusk, Professor David Cottle lifts a flawless white sheet grown from Australian cattle stem cells. The first commercial batch arrives in 2027, requiring no animals and producing no waste. Australia's leather system already leads in efficiency and environmental standards. The next advance depends on brands, investors, and shoppers. One scan, one premium, one policy at a time. Like this video, subscribe and hit the bell for more Farm to Future stories. Don't forget to let us know what topic you would like to learn about next.
Most people imagine them as factories, but a few of them aren't factories at all. They're meat mills. A factory can pause and recover. A mill pauses and goes bankrupt. Places where volume replaces margin and survival depends on one brutal rule: process more animals tomorrow than you did today, or be replaced by someone who will. Tonight, we're counting down 5 of the largest processing operations in Brazil. Not to celebrate them, not to condemn them, just to understand how big this system really is and what it demands from anyone who wants to stay inside it. At the quieter edge of Brazil's beef industry, there are companies built on history rather than headlines, names that existed long before global exports dominated the conversation. Prima Foods sits in that space. Prima Foods didn't start as a monster. It began in 1949, back when meatpacking in Brazil was still personal, family-owned, relationship-driven. Reputation mattered. For decades, Prima, then known as Mataboy, built its name quietly. Quality over noise, tradition over speed. But tradition doesn't scale well. At some point, the market stopped asking how good your beef was and started asking how fast you could deliver it and to whom. Prima rebranded, merged, changed ownership. Jose Batista Jr., known as Junior Freeboy, took control. Yes, that Batista family, the same bloodline behind JBS. Officially, Prima and JBS have no direct relationship. On paper, they're separate. In reality, they exist in the same gravitational field. Prima operates multiple units across Brazil, plants that process hundreds of cattle per day, every day, without headline. That's the quiet danger zone of this industry. You're big enough to feel global pressure, but not big enough to bend it. At this level, one export market tightening standards, one buyer delaying payment, 1 week of rising feed costs, and suddenly, legacy stops mattering. Move slightly higher, growth becomes the story. Frigol expanded fast, placing its operations where logistics and exports made sense. Founded in the early 1990s, Frigol expanded aggressively across Sao Paulo and Pará. It pushed into international markets in more than 60 countries, multiple continents. On the surface, it looks like a textbook growth story. Frigol is often described as one of Brazil's fastest-growing meat processors. New plants, new markets, new volume. The numbers look impressive. Process volumes climbing, profits surging. But rapid growth in meatpacking doesn't create freedom, it creates obligation. Every expansion raises the minimum speed the system demands from you. That kind of growth doesn't ask if demand will stay strong, it assumes it. And assumptions are dangerous in a business where buyers can disappear overnight. Regulations can change mid-contract, and one market, China, can quietly control your oxygen supply. When exports make up most of your volume, diversification isn't a strategy, it's a survival skill. Carrefour built its success on exports, especially one buyer that now dominates its volume. That works until it At another level, companies stop growing organically. They consolidate. Marfrig didn't wait for the market to decide its fate. I bought a scale instead. Dozens of mid-sized processing factories were folded into one structure, not because they were failing, but because they would fail alone. This wasn't about branding, it was about volume smoothing. When margins are thin, scale becomes a weapon. Shared logistics, centralized procurement, standardized processes. Exports were built into Marfrig's DNA from day one. While others depended on domestic demand, Marfrig looked outward. Europe, Asia, North America. As international appetite for Brazilian beef exploded, Marfrig was already positioned to feed it. When Marfrig reached tens of thousands of cattle per day, slowing down stopped being an option. It became a threat. Buying survival at a price. Minerva didn't wait. While others debated, Minerva acted. In a single move, the company acquired 16 processing factories previously owned by Marfrig, plants across Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, and even a sheep facility in Chile. The price tag was massive. The regulatory process is slow and tense, but when the deal cleared, Minerva didn't just grow, it jumped. Overnight, process capacity surged, export power consolidated. Minerva positioned itself as the dominant exporter in South America, second only to one name. This wasn't expansion, it was insurance. Because in this industry, if you don't get bigger fast enough, someone else buys the future before you do. But debt doesn't care about ambition, and larger capacity only helps if the world keeps buying. Minerva placed its bet. Now it has to keep winning every day. And then there is the company the system bends around. JBS isn't just the largest meat packing company in Brazil. It's the largest agribusiness company in the country and the largest meat producer on Earth. An estimated 30% of all cattle processed in Brazil pass through JBS facilities. Think about that. For every 10 cattle processed nationwide, 3 belong to one system. Globally, JBS operates at a scale most competitors can't even model. Tens of thousands of cattle per day, hundreds of thousands of pigs, millions of birds. At this scale, the rules change. JBS doesn't react to markets. Markets react to JBS. When JBS expands a plant, entire regions feel it. When it negotiates prices, suppliers adjust. When it invests, competitors react or vanish. The Campo Grande expansion alone doubled capacity after a massive investment. Not because demand required it immediately, but because being ready matters more than being careful. JBS has faced scandal, scrutiny, questions that never fully go away. And yet it remains because, in systems this large, morality is quieter than logistics. None of these companies set out to build a machine like this. They responded. They adapted. They scaled because not scaling meant dying. In Brazil's beef industry, success doesn't come from being right, or ethical, or even efficient. It comes from lasting longer than the pressure. The system doesn't ask who's best. It asks who can absorb the most risk for the longest time without breaking. And the only question left is, who can afford to lose last?